Я также провожу платные тренинги. Я начинаю... Где провожу? В разных, в организациях, в женских организациях провожу. На улице просто собираем соцопросом людей и проводим. Также в самой структуре университета жизни для людей, которые хотят тоже научиться этому. Я тоже вас приглашаю в тренерское направление. Это очень интересное направление на самом деле. Также сетевой бизнес. Тоже это очень интересная сфера. Многие люди не хотят этим заниматься, я вам скажу по какой причине. Для этого нужно смирение, во-первых. Сказать человеку: возьмите что-то у меня есть что-то для вас, что я вам могу предложить. Вот просто пристать к человеку и помочь ему понять, что есть продукт лучше, чем тот, которым он пользуется. Это не стыдно, это на самом деле очень интересный труд. И не каждый человек может этим заняться в силу только того, что он либо не хочет, либо у него нет определенных навыков, определенных личностных качеств. Это все можно создать с помощью пастора, с помощью книг. И хочу сказать, что это место, где мы принимаем дух пастыря, как великой личности. Мы можем знания почерпнуть и в других местах, да? Мы можем зайти на платформу университета жизни, можем зайти на сайт посольства, там очень много есть знаний. Но то, что здесь делает пастырь, он нам вкладывает в свое сердце, он передает частичку своей души на этом месте. И хочу сказать, что то, что мы получаем здесь, вот именно здесь, на этом месте, я не знаю, можно ли это получить онлайн, я не пробовала, но здесь на самом деле можно приобрести очень много. Вы изменитесь.
Good evening.
Кто-то быстрее, кто-то медленнее.
We are beginning, and that was the beginning. We shared some opinion about the changes, and life is such a thing that changes us. We change, and it depends on the people who we let to be a part of our life. Maybe somebody wants to give a witness how the life can change thanks to this knowledge and news and lessons that we get here. There are 6 clubs, let's say about Irpen only, that our sister has, and our sister leads this club to study from our sister. So she changes thanks to the books of the pastor and these meetings on Sundays. So our sister started 6 club, and now with the help of this Sunday meeting, she can help people in Irpen. Maybe there is a book in your life that is changing your life and the lives of people around. So welcome, you can come and share your experience, share your news, share your lessons. My name is Bondo. I'm from the Central Church. Pastor Sunday Adelaja is my pastor. I have finished the retreat with the pastor for men, and I want to tell the people who haven't visited this retreat for men, don't lose this opportunity to get whatever you can get, so that you don't feel pity, so that it is too late, that there is a feeling that I have that in some time we will run after our pastor and he won't be able to give us so much time here. I know the work of pastor, and I have known him for many years, and you will see that when he gets free, we will be arrested. So I have been married for many years, thanks God. I'm up to my gold wedding or whatever it's called. I thought that I knew everything about a woman, about love, about family, and I had thought before visiting this retreat that I know nothing and knew nothing, and I didn't give anything to my husband, to my wife, and my years, which we have been married, I was a little bit wrong. It has always been a little bit of a mystery. This thing which we call a woman's reaction. Uh, So sometimes I wondered why a woman one day can change into somebody who can actually hurt you so much.
Оно оказывается потому, что эти женщины, наши драгоценные, ну таким вот это самым образом были, чтобы у них действительно не было уважения, внимания, любви.
And what I learned after the retreat with the pastor that women need something from us to be stable, to be kind. And I have 6 women around me. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a... And because of my lifestyle, I wanted to understand what's wrong with me. I'm a person of maximum, so I wanted everything from life. But I didn't want to learn. That's why I went to be a taxi driver, just to learn from people, to listen to people. But for me to go to a retreat and start learning, it was really hard. But when you learn something or you don't know something, for example, you don't know how to do something, you are in dangerous situation, because if you do something but you don't know how, you can actually kill yourself, for example, while doing some experiments. So in this case, talking about my personal family, I was born in Georgia, and my family has always been full, and we were taught how to honor your parents, how to deal with the situation in family, how to help each other. So actually I was born and I grew up in the country which has some minimum information about the family and relationships in the family. But in this case,
уже говорил, что вот я очень склонный был того, чтобы у нас в семье не было сестры, и были мы помешаны на этот любви, за эти самые, как вот знакомился с друзьями, вот заводили, я их принимал как сестры для себя, и стал как бы, чтобы защищал везде. Хотя они мне больше становились друзьями женщины, нежели парни. Это было, чтобы вот мужественные всегда, чтобы со мной стояли, с таких женщин, я даже не знал, я не смотрю, что делать, чтобы они делали. И поэтому наши цели, я сейчас вот понял такую, что вот не только, чтобы сейчас поняли это, что сейчас именно, что вот после такого, что прохождения этого ретрита, что нам нужно по максимальному, что христианам, никто этого в мире не знает.
So after the retreat, I came to a decision that independent of my roots of my family, we have to get a knowledge about the family. In this case, if you have no knowledge on your family, on the building of your life, I have to be maximum informed as a Christian to be a professional in every part, including the family. So the world has problems, and the people in the world struggle because they don't have that recipe, this diagnosis. They don't know how to treat their problems, including the family. So if every Christian gets this knowledge and helps people around, then you will see that you can change the world. When I used to work as a taxi driver, I could see that people around the world and people in the city, they are so angry, they are so ignorant in some spheres of life. And in spiritual world, if you as a Christian don't do anything, you don't work on the situation, don't seed good things in lives of people around, then you will see that nothing changes around you and your country. So actually,
там было все отброшены, никто там никаких, это, вот и приходили с христианства, и тут, чтобы поверхностью, так вот это сказали, для своих галочек, чтобы как-то, ну, сделали, чтобы как-то вот мы тут организовали, а она от него доказывает, что это слишком далеко.
so I have seen a lot of Christians who came to some cities, for example, and they started some Christian movements, but it was not deep. They didn't give roots. Especially men, you have to study, you have to get knowledge to change your life, to change your family. As Bible says that a man with clean hands should raise the hands to God, and the God will give power. So what God gives is power to the man. I like the phrase by Pastor Bosse. When she said, when she came to the family, she came as a helper. So what we have to do, what we can see in this world, in families of people, those divorces, anger, this war, I want to encourage us that in this case we should be the last nation who sees this destruction and these problems around us, and we can change this. It's not about glory to Ukraine, it's about glory to God, that our children, our grandchildren should see. Thanks God, and thanks to the fear of God which we can bring to this world. Stop me if I'm talking too much, but anyway. So we have power. God is waiting for us. He is not waiting for a president.
Да, были цари, и там вот этот все, ну, первые кто там был? Первые были помазанники Божьи, пророки, все эти сами, что все...
As you remember from the Old Testament, there were judges. There were kings, of course, but first people whom God used to work in the world, to change situations, to deal with the problems. God spoke to judges and prophets. So now, when we come to the point when God says, find a person to teach, find a person who will teach nations. So this is what I can say, what I want to say. My word is that it's not from this world around us that changes will come to the nation, but from the church. This is the point from which the word of God can come to the world and change the nations, change the situations and families.
Духом Святым, чтобы автомат возьми, перестреляли. Я говорю, перестреливай, перестаньте поносить, говорит мужик Божий. Помните, вы смотрели этого? Поношение помазанника не сравнит никого, хоть 1000 президентов поставите, вы этого знаете. И поэтому Господь говорит, что благословляющий вас, говорит, благословлю, проклинающий вас, проклинаю. Если мы
So,
мы должны, чтобы вот
so I wanted to mention one more thing, that God says that He will bless the ones who bless and He will curse the ones who curse. So having this basic knowledge from the Word of God,
слово мои, получилось у него удар.
we can witness and we can bring to this world examples.
Выше
Once I
что ты такое говоришь? И он зашатнулся, понимаете? Этот опасный
Once I had an argument with a man who was really bigger than me in every other way, and when I told him, I saw that he was shaken, and I saw that I am the one who is anointed by God. What you say is important, and it is very important to understand that everything starts from the spiritual world. What we get from those retreats, from those teachings, we have to bring to the world. And thank you very much for this idea. It is exactly what we want to see from these meetings. Here is Pastor Sunday coming, and he greets everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How are you? How's life? How's your day going? Yes, everyone is happy that in Kiev there is summer which came back and it's very hot today. So we have the topic today. Today's topic is initial conditions and terms of human's life. Initial conditions and terms of human's life. So what we mean, let me explain. The thing is, very often people say that the most important thing in life, just tell me if it is the truth or not. If it is the truth, confirm. If it's not the truth, you just correct, okay? So I want to understand what I was told once. Many people think that to be successful in life and reach something big, you have to have a starting condition, starting or initial condition. So, for example, if you are born in a good family, for example, your parents are millionaires, then of course no problem in your life, you will be successful. Or for example, if your parents are rich, or they are politicians, or they are people in power, of course it's clear your life will be good, and everything will be good in your life in general. Hello, Mama, of one of our sisters, Pastor greeted her. So, but on the other hand, if you have not successful families, that there are no people in power or rich people in your family, nobody can help you, that in our country, in Ukraine, there is a general understanding that if you don't have a noble family where you were born, then it's clear you can't be anybody. People know it. It's the main thing. So it's the main point for being successful. And very often people condemn their parents for being born in such a poor family and for not helping them. So I'm not happy, I'm not successful, I'm not lucky because I don't have such initial condition in term for being successful, because it depends on what you have, your future and success in life. And what I want to understand, I want to see your idea, I want to see your point of view and your understanding of this situation. If there is such understanding, I want to clarify, it's not so, it's wrong. It's a wrong opinion, and I want to hear your opinion first. If there is such understanding, that if your family is not successful, then you won't be successful at all. And does it play any roles? And maybe 10%, okay, 20%. In general, it could even be a negative thing. For example, why I think so? Why we are speaking about that now? Because we speak that when we see people driving good cars, we think subconsciously that he had a good start. Somebody covers, somebody helps. Or if somebody has a good business and this man or young woman, they are young, then definitely there is somebody who covers, who pays for him, who helps in life. So the question to the audience is if there is such a thing in our life or not. Yes, let me answer. Yes, we have such an excuse in our society between each other or just, inside ourselves, that if this person or my neighbor or somebody I know, my acquaintance, if they are born in a good family, successful family, then of course it's much easier to become successful in life. This person is much better than me. Okay, just what percent do you think? Okay, just let me calculate how many people can think. 10%, 20% in general. 100% of people think that there are excuses, different excuses, but in general the idea is the same. It's just starting condition. The whole society believes that it plays an important role in your life since you there is even a saying in Ukraine that my neighbor has tastier apples in his garden. It's just a saying, but it explains our opinion about life. If somebody has a problem, then my problem is bigger. If somebody has success, then somebody helped him. It's easier for him. Why? Because he has parents, because he's cleverer, because maybe he had a grandparent who was richer, and so on. So every time we are looking for an excuse for ourselves, and here you have to be more detailed and talk about it from about levels of. Okay, the question is. There is a main idea. It's not now about the layers of people or society, social layers. Now we are talking if there is such a thing like we have excuses. Yes, I want to tell that children, men, women, they all have different opinions, different excuses, different even geographical excuses. For example, in Kiev it is easier, in the Crimea it's worse. I live in the west of Ukraine, I live in the south of Ukraine, and I cannot become a businessman because I don't live in Kiev. So if I were in Kiev, then I would be successful. In this case, if our parents or background they are more or less rich, then in this case, of course, a young man, a young businessman, when we look at his life, we understand that yes, either he stole something or somebody gave him something. That is what we have in conversation. Oh, when we see a businessman, for example, then of course we ask, if you are a businessman, where did you get the money from? So what we understand that people cannot become successful if I'm not successful. If I'm not successful, then if somebody becomes successful, then they are helped. Confirm, please. Can you confirm this opinion? Is that true, what our brother is saying? And hello everyone. Greetings, dear church. I have to say that there are deeper roots. There is an anecdote about that. when a military man, colonel, talks to his dad, and the dad is okay, the anecdote is about military career growth of the children. So the colonel says to his son that he can become a colonel, and the son asks, "May I become a general?" And his father says, "No, the general has his own kids." So it means that the roots of our excuses are in deeper roots of our society, when we had corruption, when we had, like that time of our communism past, when we were brought up like biological mass, so you couldn't be better, you couldn't be more successful. In my childhood, in my young age, I remember that even if you wanted so much to become somebody, to become an inventor, it was really hard even to legalize your work, to have patent on your work. That's why a lot of inventions went to the West, because the system that we had here didn't encourage people to be different. We were brought up to be like everyone else. We weren't taught to be businessmen, to be successful people, to be somebody who has achieved success. We lived in the Soviet Union, and we had enterprises. We had a lot of people who worked as a same biological mass at factories, at plants, and when the USSR fell apart, people were lost. People had nothing. They had got used to working for the government and be like everyone else. So people started some kind of businesses, some kind of development, simply because they wanted their children to be different, their children's future to be better. But in this case, our education now doesn't guarantee that you can actually be successful. But the pastor mentions that now, wait a second, what is your opinion about the starting point, the initial point and condition and term for your being successful in life? This is what I mean, that our nation for many years was under such opinion that if your father is rich, then you can buy more expensive things. If your father is rich, then you can get good marks, simply because the father has connections and some outlets to be successful and to make everyone in his family successful, simply by paying or by buying things. So people who didn't have much money, we are talking about Soviet Union, it was initial point for a lot of people that they would never become successful simply because their parents were poor. So now, okay, now everything is clear. We have businessmen, we have millionaires, but in Soviet Union, everyone was the same, was equal. No, we had bosses, we had directors, we had the chief accountant. So, of course, it was different. Even the Soviet Union, if you were in power, then you had you had some kind of class. You belonged to some kind of class. Of course, orally they didn't say that there were classes. There was separation in layers, richer or poorer. So the question is, okay, so what is now? What about now? Okay, just the pastor wants to clarify the situation. Okay, what time was better for living now? That time in the USSR or now? And The answer is now. Why? Because you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, whatever you dream of. And now we don't have the limit by government. So now we have access to bigger opportunities. Now we have access to achieve some things in the life simply because. So now I caught you. Now I caught you, and pastor says, now I caught you. It was my trick. I just wanted you to prove that now we have a different situation. But you say in a few seconds that now it's a better time and anybody can do it. So there is no difference right now, or there is. No, this system is still on, but what I think that the percent of people who are looking for an excuse that, oh, if I had parents, if I had connections, if I could see. No. Now we have the thought in our life, in our brain, that if your parents are rich, if you have connections at university, if you have starting money, for example, maybe your grandparents have a car, so still people depend on that background. And okay, of course, comparing to the USSR, we have more abilities now, we understand more now. Some time ago, when I was young, it was nonsense. I remember there was a TV show like people who are rich, they cry as well. It was a series. So he says, I didn't understand why rich people cry. I don't understand why they should cry. They have no problems. But now I see that there are different situations. Even rich people have their own problems. Even when parents are rich and they are millionaires, they have problems because their kids can have a lot of problems. Okay. Now I want to kill your arguments at the very beginning. Will you agree with me that in general people who become great are people who had no background, no starting point, no initial terms? Let's say about Yanukovych. Okay, what's his starting point? A prison, or the people from an orphan house? What background did they have? Have you seen some people whose parents are from villages and there is no money, no starting capital, no starting business? Putin, Obama, Kuchma, all people who have become somebody in this life, usually 90% of those people have no rich people, no connections. They had nothing initially. So where do you get this excuse that you have to have this start? Where do you get this excuse from? Anyway, even Brezhnev, if you remember this outstanding man, he had nothing. I think the answer is okay. I want to understand, the pastor wants to understand why do we have this opinion that a person should have a background. Pastor, I think for some reason that it's simply comfortable, more comfortable. Actually, first, nobody actually even studied the background or the starting points in life of our famous people. We didn't want to learn our lesson. We didn't want to read about those people. So we thought that studying biographies of outstanding people was not serious, and we didn't want to study. So actually we didn't even know about background of famous people, successful people. So we didn't associate those people with our destiny. Even if we read about them, we didn't understand what it can do for me, how it can help my life. So what I want to say, today I understand with my brain that Pastor says, right, they achieved their success themselves. Now we believe that our pastor studied the biography of those people and tells us that it's possible. So we believe our pastor, but still we don't believe that we can do it. So maybe it's kind of old superstitions, old opinion that in fact we understand that it is correct and it can work, it should work, but in general we don't do it. We don't do it because we have this template in our brains that it should be. Usually, I like her way of thinking because usually women have some kind of jumping thought. Now she's talking very correctly, so okay, let me continue. I was young when there were the 19th. My family was poor, and there was a very convenient position that my parents didn't have money to give me to develop and didn't have acquaintances so that they could let me study at higher institutions. So it was, to tell the truth, very convenient for me that my parents didn't have a chance and I simply didn't want to change anything. So my point of view was, I would really like to be somebody, but this is my destiny. My parents couldn't help me. Then I had kids, I had family, and again, it's an obstacle that I couldn't do anything. Maybe it was not my destiny to become successful. Okay, the pastor comments that on the one hand, we do believe that the biographies of outstanding people, in general, 90% of them, they had no rich family or connections. So we read it, we know it, but we don't connect it to ourselves. No, we don't. Now the question is, even if we learn about those outstanding people somehow from somewhere, okay, let's say it's not the president, Bill Gates, somebody else, Steve Jobs. So let's say it's, you know some stories. You know about some people, about their background, about their not being rich or not having a great family. One second, apologize. So somewhere subconsciously we understand and we know that a lot of people without a successful background, family and so on can become successful themselves. And in this point, this is exactly what I want to understand. Why we don't want to become successful? Why don't we connect such destinies with us? There is something like that is within our brain, our childhood, which was inserted with opinion of people around us, that we have it, we still have it in our mind. Okay, anyway, I don't remember the Soviet Union, I was little, but yes, Pastor, this is what I want to confirm. That we do have this situation, and we still have, it still exists, that if you have connections and if you have money, then you will see that you can help your family, you can help your kids. So I can confirm that this situation exists. For example, there are life examples, life situations uh, of people who have contacts, who have connections with different people, and I know it from real life that when you know somebody, these people will help you. Somebody in power, somebody, you know, like directors. So, what our brother wants to confirm is that we have a system. He confirms that we have a system like 80% of people do depend on having acquaintances, having somebody to help. And there is a question like 80 or 60% in our society. Now we are talking about Ukraine in particular, but anyway, if just from my experience,
И смотрю, что в городе, что трудно. Я ему, к нему прихожу. Говорю, ну возьми, я хоть где-то помогу вам, говорю, чтобы вот этот...
My friend is a minister, a civil worker, and I asked him to help me with a job. Maybe he went to meet his friend and asked for help to get a job. And his friend answered that he couldn't help him because if he had no money, then in this case, those connections even won't help. So he said that I wouldn't help you even if I wanted, with your enthusiasm, with your skills, with your even desire to help the city, but I cannot help you simply because you have no money. So now the pastor says, okay, maybe it's only about government positions. No, Pastor, your way of thinking is absolutely different. You just don't see the real situation. So, for example, if I need a form, then I pay money and go and take it. No matter if it is false, if it is the truth, if you need a document from some organization, it doesn't really matter, government or it's you know, like something you need, like document from, if it is false or truth, it doesn't matter. If you want it fast, you pay money and you get it. And what they are discussing right now is that everywhere in our society, now we are talking about the customs, about hospitals, about government, about institutes or schools. If you have connections, if you can pay some money, then it is really easier to get a result. It's not out of nothing that we have such examples when your friend maybe is not that clever, is not that skillful, but his parents are rich and he has a better position, a better situation in life. So we see it, we really see it. I wanted to share a thought with you that if you look at this society now, then I want to say thank you for our pastor, for our church. Thank you for the teaching we have that everyone can achieve success. And in this world, people they don't even dream of becoming successful. What they have is enough. They don't want to take responsibility for their developing, for their growing as a personality. And in this case, what we have here, we have motivation. We have our open eyes, and people in the world, they have no choice. They don't know if they have the choice to become successful. So people in the world don't know or don't want to accept that they should take responsibility for their life, for their family, and become successful. That's why I wanted to to tell you that the general situation is that our people in general are waiting for the king who will make them happy, rich, that this morning we will have, the next morning we will have a different president and he will make the nation happy and rich. Okay, the pastor asks, I think he's right about connections, about having acquaintances if you want to get a better position or you want to get a better place in life, in business. So yes, okay. A person from the street, just nobody, has fewer opportunities. So what do you think about the percentage? How, like just your opinion. So you think that it is 100%? Somebody said 80%. It depends on the sphere. It depends on the direction. If it is politics, then 100%. Okay, let me give my example. My son got married some weeks ago. His wife, my daughter-in-law, finished medical university. She entered it herself. She had best marks. She never paid money for anything. She had the red diploma. So she's a clever person. She wanted to study. Is she a believer? Yes, she is. Yes. So it is a principle. They are believers, and now she has to go on studying, and with the red diploma, she is sent to another town, not even a city, a town, 1,500 kilometers from her home. So her husband has to leave everything for 3 years, go there, and when they came to Nikolaev, there is no flat, no provision, just nothing. The young couple, their initial terms and conditions are like zero. There is a fund to change the life of Ukraine. Some weeks ago, I spoke to one of the directors of these services, and she told me this story about her daughter. Her daughter finished medical university, and she described the situation. It's almost the same with his daughter-in-law, that his daughter-in-law was sent in like 1,500 kilometers from her home, and the daughter of this director could stay in her town or move to Kiev or somewhere else simply by paid, by just, like by connection, by agreements, by finding acquaintances. They have solved this question, as we call it. They have solved this problem by getting new connections and paying some money. So it means the same. If you, for example, you can take my example as an example. My daughter-in-law, we didn't pay anything, and she went far away and tries to build her new life with a little salary, without any flat, and just got married. And this daughter of the director has absolutely the same situation at the beginning. By using her acquaintances, she got another destiny. So, okay, and the pastor comments, yes, you hear it, you nod your heads, you agree, so you have heard it all your childhood, and now you understand that it's simply normal? Yes. First of all, in our head, it is from our childhood, from the society, we have seen such examples, we have heard such examples.
почему нет? Ты
Почему?
понимаешь, что если я не пойду, не
Почему?
дам денег, ничего не срастется. Это же в голове есть
Нет, у
понимание?
меня твердая позиция, я не хочу так делать.
Нет, это уже другая позиция,
Я не хочу
христианская
так
позиция.
делать.
Okay, and even
А с
having
позиции
being a Christian and having a different point of view,
но в голове-то какое
he
понятие?
didn't
Я
want to
понимаю,
pay
как
money for
работает
his
система,
daughter-in-law,
понимаю, как работает система.
but the
Не
system
подмажешь, не
works
поесть.
that if you
Поэтому я
don't,
понимаю,
you will not
если,
get anything.
то есть,
So
другими словами, если нет
the
старта,
what I understand, if you don't have a starting
если нет
point and
старта, старт
initial
надо создать.
terms
Согласны? То
and
есть не вот этими
conditions, you
взятками
have to
или
create
какими-то
it.
кабанами мы
You have
создаем себе
to
старт.
Не
create it
надо нам
by
старт никакой создавать. Нам надо
bribes,
менять себя,
by
надо менять общество.
knowledge,
Было нормально жить,
by
потому что
knowing some people, you know, by connections. We
Да,
just
как оно есть,
describe
как
what we
надо, так.
have.
Хорошо,
It's not
зачем?
what
Я не
if it
договорил.
is good
Смотрите,
or
то есть
bad. We're
я
not
думаю,
talking
почему в
about
нашей голове есть
good or bad
вот
sides. We just
говорит
describe,
пример,
is there
что
such a
слоя
situation?
населения. И
Yes,
мы
there
смотрим
is.
там те политики, те
We spoke
бизнесмены, и
about the
нам, и мы
layers
смотрим,
of
нам говорят, ты туда лезешь.
society
Связи есть.
a few
То
minutes
есть с
ago,
детства, я думаю,
and
это вселяли в наши
we know
головы
that
родители,
in our
учителя,
childhood we
общество.
had
Вот почему тебе туда
such
идти? У тебя
opinion
есть что-то, вот, как вам сказали,
insinuated by our parents,
деньги
by
есть,
our
у тебя
grandparents,
связи
that
есть, что ты вообще
if you
сюда
don't
идешь?
have money,
Ну,
if you
что ты
don't have
здесь,
connections,
что ты здесь сможешь
don't
сделать? Что у
even
тебя здесь
look in
может
the
получиться?
direction of
У тебя уже ничего.
politics or
У тебя есть
business
что-то за
or
спиной, есть
some
какая-то
higher
крыша, есть
positions. If you
какие-то
don't have a
основания, чтобы ты вот
background,
это тут
if
двигался.
you don't
А
have
знаешь, почему я
somebody
сейчас
to
скажу?
help you,
Я сейчас
somebody
скажу,
to give
почему
you
это
money,
получилось. Потому что
then
я не знаю,
it's
потому что
worthless.
я вот только что
I don't
понял,
know
что это
how
так.
it
Потому что
happened.
брат пошел,
I just
он же
understood
не пошел просто,
that
он пошел к своему другу. А друг не самостоятельный в этой жизни. И поэтому ему взять брата туда, ему зачем? Если бы он шел сам туда, почему я говорю? Вот зачем ты туда идешь?
talking
Я
about
иду,
the
потому что я
previous
хочу вот это поменять.
witness,
Вот если у нас такая будет позиция, значит,
when
это
a
будет совсем
friend
другие
couldn't
варианты.
help with a job at administration, he couldn't help because this friend himself, wasn't independent. He didn't do it himself, and he couldn't do it for his friend. There is there are many jokes about this situation, that in our society it's simply common to have friends or to make friends in those fields where you want to develop and grow up and achieve success. But when my sons finished school, university, you really have to pay money to ensure good future. And unfortunately, it's not about their knowledge, they are being skillful, they are being enthusiastic about their future job. Unfortunately, it's only about money. So if you don't give a bribe, then even if you have good marks, it doesn't really help, unfortunately. So
Да, если ты туда идешь этими деньгами, ты должен его отработать. Ты заплатил туда миллион, ты должен отработать оттуда 2 миллиона. Знаете, гаишника награждали героем вот это самое, а он скривился так вот это, зачем? А старик потом поднимается, говорит, зачем вы, говорит, ему награду? Дайте ему, говорит, знак, ограничение 40 километров. На, сынок, говорит, где хочешь, там и ставь. И зарабатывай. Ну, да не система так она есть. Таких могу, чтобы вот жизненных примеров...
Okay, in general, our brother is sharing his life experience about the system, actually about the same thing, that our pastor has a different understanding of life, and he lives with different values of life. So he
Yes.
wants to hear our opinion, and what we are talking about today, that the pastor asked us as a group of people if there is such a thing as depending on your background, or if you have somebody who can help you, if it works or if it doesn't work in our society today. So why I came here, I want to tell you those years, the 60s, the 70s years, we were told a lot about writers, about famous people. There was a lot of information about Lenin, Vladimir Lenin. I'm from a working family. My father was in war, and he was a fan of Lenin. So everywhere you could see information about Lenin. So I went to the library, and using my mother's passport, I took a lot of books to read about Lenin. I wanted to understand how did Vladimir Lenin become such a great person. He had a nanny, he had teachers. So, from what I was told, I understood that from what I read, I understood that I filtered the information, and I read so much that I became clever. I just liked Lenin's example because he read a lot and he was a famous person. Then I read about the poets, about Pushkin, for example. I am an exception, I understand. I read a lot, and I have become successful because I had just, like good examples, and I read about them and I followed them. So what our pastor tells us is that in general people hear about famous people and don't connect it to themselves. But our sister mentions that actually in her case it worked. It really worked, and she did it without any background. I want to tell you, yes, it works. When you don't have anything for the start, any background, any connections, in my case, as our sister says, it worked out and she managed without start. So the question is, do people need initial starting condition, background in life? So the question is, the topic of this meeting, the sister says no. What she personally needed in her life, it was just a desire and enthusiasm. She has worked all her life with helping people get documents for immigration to Germany, to different countries, and she says that a lot of people who left Ukraine, they were from Donbas region. From Donbas, Donetsk, Debaltseve, those places where there is war right now. She knew one person from Donbas region who came to Kiev, and she became successful, and she asked everyone, like, people, what are you waiting for? It doesn't really matter if you are from Kiev or if you are from Donbas, or if you are from the west of Ukraine or from the east of Ukraine. You can get successful. You can reach certain goals in your life. It's not about your background. It's about your desire, about your enthusiasm, about your willingness to become successful. For example, in the USA, a lot of people who immigrated, they became rich. A lot of people became rich because they simply had no choice. They started working there because the people who immigrated, they had no choice but to be successful, because those people will do everything possible. They wouldn't wait, they will be concentrated and they will achieve success. Of course, we're not talking about all people from, for example, Kiev, but sometimes when you have this background and you have a flat in Kiev, when you have a car, then you're relaxed. You don't rush to success. You don't want to struggle for this success. So you are not that enthusiastic about getting a lot of things by your own desire, your own work. Let's applaud to our sister. Hello, good evening. To tell the truth, I have worked with statistics and I analyzed businessmen some years ago and now. I am an orphan, and it has always been my interest to work with statistics and to study different people and their biographies. 7-8% it could be a mistake, but from the end of the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s, uh, I'm talking about people in politics and business. So from the 90s and 2000, there were 70% of people whose fathers communists or Komsomol or just parents were in power. 30% was people who came from towns, from villages, and achieved success. Now it is 50-50. The reason is the reason is look at your family, for example. The surnames of Ukrainians, as our brother mentions, historically are connected to the jobs of our parents. So, for example, if your father was Taylor, then your surname was a Taylor. If so, the surname was connected with the job of your generation, your great grandparents. If your great grandfather was a warrior, then the son and the grandson will become the warrior. If it is the family of gardeners, then there was a generation of gardeners. So the reason which the brother wants to accentuate here that just few people could break out of their generation business or generation direction and achieve success in a different field. So now we have it a little bit different when people started to move to different countries. For example, in Scotland, in Russia, you had been nobody, and when you came to America, you could have a chance to become somebody. It started to change the society of the world. So this breaking moment or this changing moment started with America when you from nobody in your country, doesn't matter, Europe, Russia, American dream was really a dream for a lot of people who could start something new and who stopped being dependent on their surname and generational business. So So the pastor mentions that we also had a chance without moving to a different country. When the Soviet Union fell apart, everyone started to live in a new country. So actually, now there is a discussion in the audience that we had a chance because we had the systems that everyone in Ukraine, after the Soviet Union had fallen apart, had a chance to buy some percent like bond in different enterprises, factories, and some people sold those bonds, some people kept them. So the brother goes on and says that he studied the statistics that 70% of people 20 years ago needed connections, and they had strong background build up of their grandparents, friends, and so on. So 70% of people in the 90s really used their connections to become successful. It's at the end of the 90s. And now, 50-50. No, the pastor doesn't agree, even from the people who are present here. No, the pastor doesn't agree because here it's even worse. Fewer people know somebody in power.
Немного из вас мудрых мира сего, немного сильных, поэтому Бог призвал немудрое, пастор. Мы не та статистика. Немудрое мира
The brother jokes that God calls simple people to church, so it's bad to ask our people about having connection in power and knowing somebody because we are in church and we are simple. So, but anyway, the pastor goes on. If it is 50-50, then it's every second. So every second should know somebody, should have connections.
каждого второго. Да, да. То есть каждого второго кто состоялся.
So, according to the pastor's statistics, every second present in the audience today should know somebody, should have somebody in power, somebody who used to be rich or millionaire. So, if it's not like that,
Половина из них,
Ой.
как казак Гаврилюк, сейчас. Сами проанализируйте, как для школы
I apologize. 1 second, we have something wrong with connection.
такие добрые, злые люди или нет. А другая, как
1
половина,
second.
это сын.
I do apologize for this pause. I think we have some problems with connections with
То
this.
есть приблизительно
Пол.
сейчас 50 на 50. В 90-х было 70 на 30. Но, пастор, я обратил внимание именно на проблему. Почему это так? Потому что в нас с языческих времен до христианства заложено все это в фамилиях, закодировано. Коваленко, значит, Коваль, кузнец, то есть был папа. Який батько, такий сын. Это за... Ткаченко, ткач. Значит, ну это... Ткач.
We apologize for this
Воеводин,
break.
воевода,
Um,
там,
We're going to continue
всё.
and
А я же,
stay in line.
это было, в принципе, везде. Я хотел обратить внимание, что началось это изменение,
So,
когда начали завоевывать,
the changes
населять Америку.
started
Когда людям, это было
from
в Европе. Это было там тоже были
immigrating
красные, там тоже это
of a
всё. Но
lot of
когда начали
people from
завоевывать
different
Америку,
countries to
давали
America.
возможность человеку,
When
который там пастух
America
из Ирландии,
invited
ему давали
people
возможность
and gave a
достичь
chance
всего.
to a
Давали
simple shepherd
давали
from
именно
Middle
эту
Ireland,
возможность. И потом уже с
from
Америки,
Ireland to become somebody,
И
to
потом уже
start
с
his
Америки
own
вот это
business.
пошло дальше на
Then
Европу, и сейчас оно доходит к нам.
it
Почему
started
было
this
70 на 30,
movement.
сейчас 50 на 50, через лет 10
That's why we have this 50-50%
наоборот,
statistics
30
that
на 70.
50%
Оно так и будет.
can become
Именно почему
successful
этот
without
перелом произошел.
any background and any help.
Американские, там, австралийские земли. Все, с человека снимали это клеймо своего родового вот этого профессии, призвания. Все считали
So
это. Если фамилия, это призвание. Давайте заглянем.
people used to think that your generation surname used to be connected with calling. So if, for example, your surname is connected with, has a root of the word with connected with profession, then it was a calling. But it was kind of common interest that people wanted to know about the roots of their surname, about... Okay, okay, okay.
Преобразовывается все и уменьшается, но под влиянием как раз заселения Запада. Это мое мнение такое, что оно именно оттуда вопрос.
Okay, it's my own opinion. Our brother insists that it's all depended on the moving to America and so on. I wanted to say that there is a connection and with your initial condition, term, or starting point in your life. So there used to be such understanding that we call it blood in Russian. So when you have a connection, when you have friends somewhere, they will help you. It was called. It had a specific word. So, for example, if your friend was somebody, like for example a director of the shop, then you could get many products, many things, and it was not for everyone. Even now, the sister says that she wanted to start a club for women, and the director of this resort house asked first, "Are you a psychologist? Are you? What can you offer us? And what can you do for our women?" So the director made sure about her education, about her interests. So the time now is very difficult for a lot of women, and women need such clubs. And the director was simply interviewing our sister, and by those questions she was trying to pin her to some moments, some questions which will destroy all her qualities and all her achievements without any knowing any people. But what played its role and how did she get that moment, that place? The director remembered her that she used to work at that resort house, and that really helped her to get a position. So what the sister wants to describe, or even if you have education, even if you are talented, but you don't have money, you don't know somebody, there is a problem, and I cannot say about the percentage, but still it is kind of a template for becoming successful. Still, our society demands our background, our starting points, our initial conditions. So still there is a problem. The people who haven't grown in this, who haven't changed their mentality, they still depend on understanding who you are and who your parents are. So today a lot of people who have achieved success, they are involved in self-education, they are involved in reading, developing their skills. And people who don't want to study, they are looking for the background. The pastor apologizes, he has to leave and meet Pastor Bossi. And we are going
По
on.
разные возможности. Раньше такого не было вообще. Раньше была труба полная. Вчера или позавчера смотрел, у нас есть такая супер передача с Катей Сачи, да? Не знаю, кто-то
We have such program with Katya Osacha. It's called Social Life, and our brother says it was a program about initial condition of life, in human's life. We have a football player, Voronin, and she went to his home to take an interview, to look at their place of living, look around the house, and he has a son and a daughter. This football player shows his wardrobe, and now the little girl says, this is my Prada, and the daughter has Prada, and for mommy has Prada. And Katya Sacha, the representative of this program, was talking to him and to the people who were watching the program, and she mentions that yes, it's a good start for his children's life. Of course, the father he worked hard, he earned his millions by playing football, training, and so on, but his children already have this background, and we understand, of course, in their life they have more chances to become successful. So our children grow from the very young age looking at these differences, watching this dependence on the background of your parents, grandparents, and so on. And there are families where mothers wrongly, I'm going to say to their brothers, say that, oh, if your father were rich, you would have better clothes and so on. So our children do depend. And let's go to a little bit different point of view. There are a lot of famous, successful people who have grown from really poor families, bad conditions, and the thought to discuss is to think about this idea. But there are a few comments from online visitors repeating the topic of our meeting today. Our people write, yes, there is a destiny and there is life of the person. You can think about many things like background and development of your skills, but our online guest says that Jewish people are usually the most successful because they have background, but in general it's just about it's about the opinion of people. So some people think that being a Jewish is your excuse to be successful. Some people think that there is an excuse of being lazy because some guys say that people don't want to pay price. They don't want to be eager. They don't want to be determined and get the success. The people have a lot of excuses. Your background, your there are people who justify their being poor or being at the level where they are simply because they don't want to pay a price. They don't want to be persistent in their life and their work. So the common opinion of people that you don't depend on the background. You depend only on your willingness, just desire to become somebody. So when you don't have a background, you don't calculate, you don't count on any help. You don't really care. You just understand that you can depend on yourself and you can rely on yourself, on your skills only. So if you have a comfort situation, for example, you have a rich family, and this comfort situation makes you really lazy, you relax, and you don't want to develop. So there is a law. It depends on you. Thank you very much, everyone who commented our meeting online. And one more time, one more thesis that our pastor gives us to think over. And it would be really great if somebody could witness with their life. Oh, welcome. If you can or you know, tell about yourself, the thesis. The history of successful people shows that they had no background. They simply wanted to be somebody, to become somebody, and they had no starting point, no starting condition to become successful. And in general, life shows that they become more successful than anybody else. Hello, my name is Tatiana Mednik, and I agree with this statement. I agree that if you don't have any starting background, starting or initial condition, it's very good for you. Most often, people who have achieved success mention this point, and if you study their history of success, then the worse the situation at the beginning, the better is the end. I want to witness about my starting moments so that you understand what I get. Today, I am the world champion, powerlifting world champion. I have the record of Europe in 2000. On the 16th of May, I broke the record in Europe. Today, I am a fitness model, and people who are my friends in the social networks, they know I have a lot of activity. I work with 4 ministries in Ukraine by promoting my own program, which God gave me as a gift, and I serve people at different levels. I am a personal trainer, fitness trainer of people in more than 10 countries of the world. It is what I have now. Let's go back to the beginning. I grew up in the family where the father, as far as I remember, he was drinking. He was beating me, my mom, my brother. So you could say my family was just a typical Soviet family. My both parents worked at the plant. As far as I understand, at that time, it was, simple, very simple position. He wasn't the director, and they weren't very rich, but we had some sausage in the fridge, and we had some furniture. Nothing much, and I couldn't say I saw a love between my parents. The first time I saw that there is love in the family, I can say only in pastor's family. So, concerning education, no. By seeing this situation in my own family, this aggression from my father's side, my inside world, I can say first of all that God saved me, and He saved my inside world and started to form the core which helped me to achieve all those results. When I saw the example people in my family, I understood deep inside that nobody would ever show aggression in my family, and but actually there was a side effect, because when I was without God, I was really aggressive to other people, to surrounding me people. So at 16, of course, it was alcohol, fights, and my aggression, which was deep inside, was pouring out to the people around me. Then, then I understood that it's something that shouldn't be this way, and I wanted to change everything in my life, because inside I understood it was wrong, and somehow, somewhere, it should be different. It's simply impossible that you were born and you were in such a condition that you have nothing. You are poor and you're nobody. Of course, there was nothing around me which would confirm my point of view that my life should be different, but I understood that I should everything possible to change my life cardinally, to achieve everything I want to achieve and have the life I wanted. May I ask you a question? Look, first, you mentioned that you had no start, but you had only inside desire. So you had your insight. So, can you state that your starting point was minus? Yes. The second question is, how did it appear in your mind that you should have something more in your family, in your life, in your personal life? Okay, let me answer it. First of all, I understand the fact by studying the situation around me that I had nothing around me. I understood that in this little town where I was born in Ukraine, near Kiev, I had nothing to achieve. I would have to become a prostitute to achieve some results, or I have to leave the town and start everything from the scratch. Inside, I understood that I wouldn't choose the first option, and it was really something that didn't belong to me. I understood that I should look for something else, and there were no options in my town where I was born. It was the answer to your question. So the situation was not simply zero, it was very big minus. And so I had to leave my town, and I had to do something that would change the situation. I want to remind you that there is this idea. If a person was born in a village, then he had no chance for success. Can you confirm that it's true? No, not this way. You shouldn't say it this way. What I meant that I analyzed the situation around me, and if I understood when I was young, if I wanted to achieve any kind of success, that surrounding situation, that my town, my people around me wouldn't let me do it. Simply to wait until they change, it wasn't possible. Okay, so somewhere deep inside, you have two options. First, you think that you are in a village and you have no chance to be successful, or you can stay, you can remain a villager and find an excuse in your living there. So calm down. You are in a village. There is no success, and you have what you have. And the other option, what Tatiana says about that, she simply decided that she couldn't get any success in that place where she lived, and she decided to get things packed and just move and try her best to find a way out. I'm for church and for such society, such people around who provoke you to self-education. So when Tatiana got into church, she started the process of self-education. because when she started to read the books, she understood that the books by millionaires, there is one red line that they became successful not because they had a background, but they made themselves. They were deeply involved in self-education process, and actually it was her decision to it's a separate story about her educational process, but when she understood that it doesn't really depend on where you are, is it a village, is it a city, it depends on you, your inside understanding. A few years ago she returned to Smela, this town where she was born. She returned with different brain set, and it didn't belong, it didn't depend on the city. She returned to that place with a different mindset, and she understood that it was possible to change even without leaving that place. Your situation looks like mine. My father drank at the end. She committed a suicide. But my question is, don't you think, Tatiana, that if you had a great father and good family, you wouldn't deny your parents help, who would give you a few $1,000s? Dollars, and your parents would really play a different role in your family. Yes, of course, I had such a thought that, of course, if my parents were like this, that such love by parents kills people. When children use the deposit of their parents' work, they degrade, and their parents kill their kids with such life. So it's even minus. It's more. There is more plus exactly when you are yourself going through these difficulties and you become somebody. It's more positive for your destiny, for your success, than you could get from your parents. That's why I'm asking that question. I remember it when you were talking, and I have another question. Didn't you have such a desire that I will become better than others? So, didn't you want to become better? You wanted to prove that you could do it, because my personal family, as I mentioned, was poor, and what I had inside, it's what I wanted to prove, that I am better, that I can do it myself. Because when Evgeny asked you what made you leave your town, what made you leave your place? Yes, I had such thoughts. I had a wonderful grandfather who used to tell me that I was nobody, that I would be nobody in my life. Why I call him wonderful? Because it was really wonderful. It provoked me. Okay, the sister goes on and says that if I had a good family, my mom, my dad, and they gave me a good starting capital money, they paid for my place, I think I would go. I would use this deposit. Okay, why would I refuse from this starting capital if I could? I didn't know. I'm not sure if I would have achieved the results which I have now, because I would have accepted every time some bribes and some starting capital. But if it is good or bad, why would you refuse from the background which could be provided by your parents? But it would be bad if you are looking for an excuse in your life that you couldn't become somebody because of lack of this deposit or help by your parents or by your family.
Да, мы говорим о том,
what we are saying is that it's not, we're not mentioning or we're not stipulating so that it is good or bad. We are talking about people around us, that when kids whose parents have a lot of money become drug users or alcoholics, it means that mostly such kids don't deserve those actions by their parents, money or connections or whatever they can help. So this starting condition or initial condition, when you have comfort from the very beginning in your life, it makes you relaxed. It makes you spoiled, actually. Maybe that's why Americans, millionaires' parents, they send their children to work in McDonald's and so on, because they understand what's going on. And I respect you for this action when you send your own son, Fares, to Africa to live for some time in Africa and see how people really live. I respect you for this action because I think it helped your son to understand that life is actually different. It's not that you are protected by your dad and you have everything possible. So, yes, of course, our negative situations, our negative life circumstances, they really help us. I want my life example to be as an example even in your future book, Pastor, because I am the best example of the person. I'm an orphan. Okay, my story. At 5 o'clock, when I was 5, my mother died. My brother and dad went to prison. My uncle and aunt died of alcohol. So that was curse and death in my life. I was sent to the orphan house, and I grew up knowing that I had no background, I had no help. We had no parents, we had no money, we had no flat. So this way of thinking, when you are waiting for somebody to pity you, to tell you, oh, you had no parents, you had such a difficult childhood, so you find a lot of excuses for yourself. So it 5 years ago, my dad left prison and died. My brother was set free and he was killed. So I, even now, today, I can say that yes, I can find many excuses why I didn't become successful. So I grew up with having nothing around. So I had friends in this orphan house, and the only example I could see is that children were fighting. Children were fighting for food, for something. You know, like, so you were the best if you had ability to fight. So every time I heard that the future that we had was prison. When I was studying at a technical school, everybody told me that you would go to prison, your family went to prison, and you would go to prison. But anyway, I went to prison because everyone around me went to prison, and I went, of course. When I came to church, the pastor comments that he had the retreat for men, and some people from Russia, from Moscow, came and confessed that they actually wanted to go to prison because it was kind of prestige in several layers of the world, of their society. So some people think it's even good. It was even it was even your logical way of growth. You study the life of thieves. You study the way they talk. They study the life in prison. But actually, it was his life, and he was sure that stealing, deceiving people, it was okay. That people who don't do it, they were not normal. So it was kind of difficult start for a normal person. And when I came to church, I understood that my negative past has helped me a lot. It has made me a strong person. Now I can minister to the children from internats, from orphan houses, and I can say that when they tell me, oh, we are hungry, we haven't eaten anything today, I can tell them that, listen, guys, I haven't eaten for 12 years. I didn't eat in the orphan house. I didn't eat in prison. I didn't have parents. When you want to talk to me about being hungry, I didn't have food. When I came to church, I gained 15 kilos in 1.5 years. So now I eat. And when I was a child, I remember that we were boiling onions and eating that soup simply with onions. I was hungry for years. I was stealing. And you know, stealing is a system. When you steal something, then you just spend this money in a year, in a day, sorry, because you just have some money and you drink or use the money for drugs. So today, I'm not afraid of being hungry. Or if I have lack of something, or somebody tells me about difficulties in their life, yes, it's just a little discomfort. Then I can, now I have even authority to say what is hard. I was in prison, 35 people, 25 beds, and people go crazy, and you tell me that you have hard life? Or maybe somebody tells me that I have had an argument with my mom, and I have the authority to tell the child, you are lucky to have a mother. Yeah, I would be happy if I had a mom and she would argue with me every day simply because my mom died when I was 5. So difficult life actually made me what I am. So of course I am lucky to had this life, to have had such kind of life. And Pastor, I can tell you that to steal, you have to have a certain level of courage, because you cannot steal simply like you are talking to a person and at the same time you're stealing something from his pocket. Yes, it's kind of annoying in quotes. So thanks to my having nothing when I was a child, I grew up as a personality. I earned myself for myself. When I came to church, I was 19. I was wanted by the police. I had no shoes, no trousers. I was wearing a torn leather jacket, and I came with a bruise, like a black eye. So actually, my pastor told me, I looked at you and I was crying, and she hugged me, and she didn't know my personality, that inside I was a strong man. I was a thief, a great thief. No, I wasn't criminal in this case, but all my family were cheaters. So, and it was kind of family business, but I looked small, thin, nothing to wear, hungry, and I remember the effect of that was simply incredible. I had no money, and one sister came, and the sister came to me, and after the night prayer, she gave me some bread, some mayonnaise, some money. I was really happy. Um, so even at the beginning of the church, I was still in need. But these problems helped me stop being afraid of the circumstances, stop being afraid of the situation around me. So now I can react absolutely normal, adequately to the situations around me now, because I was once in militia in this police station, and I was beaten for a long time. So now what I feel, what I see, thanks to my past experience and thanks to my church, now my God switched me from curse to blessing. If I used to bring curse, I lied to people, I stole from them. Now I'm a responsible person. I go to the children who grow in the orphan's house. I have a son. We adopted a daughter. She's 10. Now I'm a responsible father. If I used to be lazy, I didn't want to do anything in church. I have learned to work. I really didn't want to do anything in church. For 2 years in church, I was late to work every single day. I didn't want to work. I was crying. I came to my pastor once and said, I was surprised that my life it's only work, church, home, work, church, home. It was boring. My life today I have learned how to work. I am a businessman. I have a company which has representative offices in 4 countries. I give people work. I have learned to work. So what I have now, it is made up by the experience I had, by this feelings which build my personality. So today I see it as my benefit. So if I talk to a person right now, I have authority with a businessman, even that I have come through things in my life. I know some things. I know that it's not hard because I had already been there. I had no start in my life. It was the greatest benefit. And for example, now we're saving money for a flat, and I see now that I have come to this point from the very big minus in my life, and now I have a studio, I have business. So now I'm thankful for having no start. Without parents, without any investment, any help, any acquaintances, you can become somebody, you can become successful. Yeah, I want to answer the question of Sister Ali. If I had been given a few $1,000s, would I have refused, and would it have been bit so bad? Actually, the question is not from what side, from mother, father, or somebody, friends.
Тогда давайте уточним, в чем вопрос. Чтобы конкретно папа или чтобы вообще деньги, которых ты не заработал, пришли в твою жизнь. Это разные два вопроса.
Let us clarify the question. If it is from parents, or it doesn't really matter, just have money in the world, in your life to start.
Окей, я поняла вас.
So the question is that children are not thankful to the parents on the one hand.
Поняли хоть? Бог ответил.
Actually, the question is answered, as far as we understand. Anyway, the question.
Что такое благодарность? Что такое самообразование?
So the question
Зачем
is
мне проходить все вот эти
that
стрессы, чтобы сейчас
if
это понять?
I,
Почему нельзя? Это я
if
мою
my
голову.
parents had
Почему
taught
нельзя
me
мама,
had
папа,
taught
вот
me
это
how to
самое
respect
защитить
people, how to
меня,
work,
научить
if my
себя,
parents had
потому что
given me
такое
some money, I would have
почему надо обязательно
had an easier life. Why is it so
все, что
important
проходят, как мы. Многие
to
формальные же
go through such tough situations.
да.
Not everyone has to go through this situation
И
and
духовно развивалась. Почему мне надо
become successful only because of difficulties in my life. So our sister wants to get
Разница между
this answer.
когда вам кто-то что-то даст, неважно.
Do you have to have difficulties in childhood,
Я считаю, что не
and
случайно
become
пастор
successful
Сергей
only if you don't have
отправлял
anything?
своего сына увидеть
The answer is
состояние, делают, потому что
Pastor
это
Sunday sent his son to see the real life in Africa because it's useful. Because when the person inside hasn't come through these difficulties, hasn't come through the personality making processes provoked or ensured by difficult situations, he will get to the comfort zone, which will kill him sooner or later. As a person who
говорила, что
has achieved something in this life for today, I always tell my daughters that yes, I'm able to give you anything in this life, but I cannot live your life. So you have to go through your difficulties. And of course, I have this temptation to help my daughter and give her everything that I didn't have in my childhood, but I understand that it's really dangerous. Moreover, I have come to a conclusion that I will create a discomfort in my life. For example, by moving to a new place and getting out of my common system or a comfortable system in a different place. So I have decided that what is very good in my life, I have to create such discomfort zones. So everything is good. The only thing you have to do is to analyze your life, analyze the minuses, and to make a strategy and system how to get out of that. At the men's retreat, we read a book about real men and boys. There was a story about inheritance of money, house, and so on. And the son was lazy and knowing that he could inherit a lot of money, the son didn't want to work and didn't want to help his parents. And he didn't. The mother still wanted the father to give these documents to her father, to his father to sign. Okay, and the father refused to sign the documents. The documents which ensured inheritance. So the son went to work, brought. So the story is about when young people when young people get something for free, they don't value, they don't see any treasure in it. When young people start earning their money, earning their profit, then they value the work of parents, they respect parents, they respect the money, they respect the success and comfort. But if they just get it without any work, any doing nothing, they don't see it worthy.
Попали, у меня есть одноклассники, 80% моих одноклассников сидит. Некоторые пропали без вести, их просто нет.
I want to witness that thanks to church, I'm alive, because 80% of my classmates are in prison or died, and a lot of people who I meet now, I always tell them that I have had a chance to compare life in prison and church and life of believers. And now I can say that even a class, my former classmates who are in prison now, they became criminals when they got to the age of 14, 13, 15. Because when you get to technical school, you don't belong to anybody, nobody watches you, nobody is responsible for you. Of course, I had a dream to earn 1 million and to marry a rich woman. I even came to Kiev and I was looking slowly along the road with the hope that a rich woman in a car would stop and because of my being so handsome, she would marry me and take me away from this country. So, to tell the truth, nobody stopped. I didn't understand why. And I repeated this action more and more in hopes of meeting that woman. And I knew those places that they would pass, and I even knew where I could find or steal $1 million. And anyway, when I became a businessman, I understood that it's the biggest curse if you don't earn that money. It's a curse. It's your start without a start. It's not your start. Maybe you found 1 million, maybe you won 1 million. Everyone, you know that statistics, if you win or you inherit $1 million, then you become even poorer than you had been before you got it. So you know that it's the biggest curse to have a start. You don't know, you simply
Сразу. Да. Но то, что вы говорите, Анна, если бы мне дали, если бы дали, это тайные мечты, они вам не нужны. Мы бы никогда не знали такую
So, making a conclusion, it's simply full dream when you dream that somebody would give you something, somebody would help you somehow. You can leave these dreams and start work. Thanks God for our sister. Thanks God for our sister that mentioned that question. But in this case, this minus start is a blessing. I wanted to witness that I can compare getting my success without God and with God. So I want to tell that one of the reasons why people from villages get success is their good breed or absence of this breed. What I had, it was when I was at the form, at the first form, when I was at the meeting and there were all the children, and somebody announced, Sergey, please come and get the money compensation for your being orphan. I remember I even bought sports shoes and I didn't want to wear them simply because I felt shy. I felt like my brain was formatting, and I understood that I didn't want somebody to, like anybody, to give me money. I didn't want to get money for being nobody or for being an orphan. And to tell the truth, even without God, I wanted to earn and to become successful, to reach to that point. It was, of course, without any Christian's ways. It didn't really matter how, but I wanted to become successful. I lived in a different territory of Ukraine without any connections. I used being acquainted with deputies. I used different ways, and they were not Christian, of course, ways of getting that goal. I wanted to protect my wife and my future children from this feeling when you have nothing, that everyone can offend you when you are poor, and you cannot even shout or cry out the words like mom and dad, and they would come out and protect you or help you. So it was kind of glitch in my brain. I simply understood that I wanted to become rich, and this is what I mean. Of course, I'm thankful to God that I didn't have anything. If I had my full family, if I had finances, if I had everything, I wouldn't be standing here. So I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't be trying even to become better, to get out of the situation. I would enjoy life. I would enjoy comfort. It is enemy number one. It's our enemy which kills your desire to be successful. So, what I got in 4 years when I was without Christ, now I got four times, by four times more. I have some companies, I have some companies in Kiev, in the district of Ukraine. So, now with God, I am successful. I'm with God. I have been with God for 3 years, and I have achieved a lot of things, but the biggest success was in a very short time. I didn't use my previous connections, previous acquaintances, and I must say that I knew how to do it because I used to do it. I started my own business. I started to get to know new people, new circles. So now I have a result. And this time it was a Christian way of building the business. So this time I came up to people and I knew how to talk to them. I knew how to deal with them. I used my previous experience, but this time um, it was with deep respect to people, with compliments, with accepting their achievements, with a real respect to their work. They saw it and they helped me. So I didn't kill anyone, I didn't ask anyone, but they helped me. So if I used to build my business without any paying attention to people's difficulty, for example, somebody had problems and I had a stone heart, like I didn't feel pity for people. Now I feel pity for people. I respect them, and they see in this my attitude to them. They respect me and they help me and they work with me. But anyway, if my mom didn't die when I was 4, if my father hadn't left us even earlier, I wouldn't have now what I have.
Утверждение, пастор.
Okay, let's go on.
Хороший старт дает покой, а покой приводит к деградации. Хороший старт дает комфорт, а в условиях комфорта человек перестает расти, перестает стремиться к лучшему, большему.
The phrase is that a good start gives you a peaceful situation around you, comfort, and comfort kills. When you have a comfort situation, you relax, and without this concentration, you cannot achieve real success in life. So it's a statement. Number 5, if you were born in a village, then a cow is your destiny for the whole life. For our people, it is unreal when a person was born in a village, and our people think that with such a background you cannot achieve success. And the pastor says that it's absolutely nonsense. Now we have already spoken, we have already discussed that, but still our people have that mentality. Okay, so it's a question to the audience, because some people do have such
То есть минусовка. Если 5 минусовых. Я
point of view at life than when you have a village background and you are in the minus. So, for example, I myself told that I am from an orphanage house. I don't have good education. I don't have good memory. So people accept it as a minus for themselves. They make it a minus and they make it an excuse at the same time. We love to talk about successful people, rich people, and even if you know who this car belong to, you talk about them. Maybe the pastor mentions that a car is not such a valuable thing, but anyway, even a car, even a plant would be something that we would talk about such people, and we know such people, and we are
не, ну это Дима. Он на Порше, а я
okay. So we discuss such people, and we think that having a car or having a plant makes them better and makes them better than us. Okay, what do we mean by
политиками, бизнесменами, предпринимателями, творцами истории. Мы не только не натягиваем их на себя, мы не только не хотим их изучать, понимать.
what we mean is that our people, or actually in general, people are afraid to connect the biographies of famous people who came out of nothing, having only minuses. They are afraid to draw such success because they are afraid that you will have to go through the same difficulties to get the same success. So the idea is that if I'm somewhere in the middle, I don't have much in my life, I don't want to know even how he earns this money because I understand it will be difficult. I don't want to get it. So, for example, I ask my friends who have success to teach. I invite this friend to teach my workers. He says, I don't want to teach. I don't want to teach because I have a school of people who learn how to make business, how to earn a million. And he says, I don't like this because when I give homework to such people, they come the next day and they don't do their homework. And when they come the next day without doing their homework, I understand that they don't need this third day of this seminar simply because you don't need it. You don't want to do your homework. So even if you don't ask questions, if you don't have your homework done, you don't you don't follow the advice. So he was stressed, and my friend didn't want to come even to my company and teach us. So our people want to get a result, but they don't want to do anything. They want it for free. They want it for nothing. So this is the excuse which our people use just by telling, okay, I have no start, my parents are poor, and when you tell them, you can reach, you can develop, you can do something, and they answer, I have no money. Okay, find something, do something. No, there is competition, and all the ideas are already there. And when you ask a lady, what's wrong with your family? How is your husband? She says, it's my husband. He has problems and he doesn't give me money. So the main idea is that the person finds an excuse immediately. He doesn't even wait for your question. Immediately he tells you about his excuses. So we talk to each other by excuses. We excuse our being not professional at our work. We excuse our having problems in family by the family problems, by somebody's being bad. So the second excuse is if I had had a million at the start, I would have achieved that success. So if I lived in the 90s, I would grow. If they find a lot of if for justifying their situation and their problem. If I were next to the pastor, if I were in a different country, if I had the same that my neighbor has, so people usually compare, and they, even if they do it, they will never become successful. I'm finishing. I uh, teach online every Thursday, and I prepare. I walk, I think, I prepare my muscles, I make exercises, I tell myself that I'm a good speaker, and uh, every time I ask my people, wish me luck, and they tell me, we wish you luck, and I tell them, no, I don't need it because I've been prepared. Hello, my name is Oksana Головко, and I wanted to tell you that people who justify that their situation now, that they grew in the village, they had no start. It's about me. I was born in a little village in Cherkasska district region, and when I was finishing my secondary school, we had 20 pupils in our class. I was the best pupil. We were five best pupils. The rest of the class were middle or not really good pupils. So when it came to the point where to uh, enter what university to enter, I felt a lot of excuses why I wouldn't do it, why I wouldn't enter university. So I was a girl from the village, so I couldn't do it. For only three pupils decided to enter higher like any other educational establishments like university or school institute. I was one of those who was afraid. Why? Because I programmed myself that I would face 100 difficulties which I wouldn't be able to cope with. First, second, it was being lazy. I was lazy. I was a village girl. It's my destiny to live in a village, to stay there, to be there. It was okay. Third was the being afraid that you would start and you wouldn't be able to go on. You wouldn't be able to cope with the situation further. So today I'm looking at the statistics. 3 people from my class out of the 24th, only 3 pupils entered university. Looking today at these statistics, 15 or 10 my former classmates remained there. They still live in the village, and they are either alcoholics or drug users, or they have really ordinary life and work from day to day. Why? Because they didn't want to challenge their destiny. They didn't want to challenge the situation. Of course, I went to that university, and I remember I was really afraid. And I was really afraid to speak. I was trembling, shaking, and feeling shy. But the decision to become somebody and to do what my parents told me to do, I became one of the best students, and I was offered a job in Smela, the small town in Ukraine. One of the directors of one company invited me to become his helper. So again, I faced that situation, that I was afraid that I wouldn't manage, I wouldn't cope with the situation, I wouldn't manage to teach children and so on. So low self-esteem, being not sure, complexes, and all our child minuses which we grow in. My family never spoke about that. In my family, I could only hear that we live where we live, and that is our destiny. So, in some time, being a believer, I was invited to live in Kiev. My husband agreed, and he said, "Okay, let's go, let's move to Kiev." Again, I faced the same questions inside, things like wouldn't cope with the situation, wouldn't cope with problems. So the pastor comments that it's kind of non-stop problem. We don't like changes. We don't like discomfort. Yes, this zone of comfort, which I set for myself. I used to live in it, and I was okay. I felt fine in it. I didn't want to leave it. Every time I came to that moment, I was hysteric because I thought that I wouldn't manage. It depends on the person. It depends on how well you're ready, how much you're ready to face those circumstances. And uh, one of the points is being envious. We feel jealousy. Inside, we really envy those people who are rich, and we're trying to find this food for our feeling of being envious. That it was his parents, it was his background, and one of the points which is very important at school, we didn't really study. We went to the lessons, we went to history lesson, physics. I understand, I remember we were studying biographies of famous people, and I was thinking like, oh, come on, why do I need his biography? It's about him, he's rich. It's not about me. It doesn't have any connection to my life. So I didn't want even to work with my brain to accept that could be an example for me, that I could become the same outstanding personality. Thank you very much. I want to ask now everyone, coming to a conclusion of everything we have already discussed, that if you don't have the starting position, this initial condition, we can have problems. But if you have this initial position and good preparing, and of course it is a double start. For example, my son Paris has finished school, and he's entering Oxford University in England, because he got not only school education, but additional education and help, which let him use this opportunity. And of course, if only you have starting material or starting resources, but you don't work on yourself, it will bring you to a serious problem. Next, what is more important than your initial condition, starting position for your life? First is myself, my personal responsibility for my life. I should do it myself. It's my decision. I want to become somebody. I want to become successful. Second is our character. The character which a personality worked on. It's like Zhenya, for example. He has his character. It's even more important than your starting resources, your personality, your responsibility, and even more important than your starting condition is your knowledge. What the person knows, and the thing that this person proclaims that he will manage, he will get to that point. These resources are more important for a person to become successful than your acquaintances or money. It's only 10 to 20% of the success. 80% it's the people who build themselves, who build their success, who made themselves. I want to mention something very important, which played a very serious role in my life. I used to have this desire, this dream to become successful, but around me there were people who didn't have this success desire or successful desire or desire for success or willingness um, uh, or a dream. So, for example, in my surrounding, there were people, 6 brothers, and a big family. They had this ideology, or they had this belief that somebody should do black work. So even when good dreams came to my mind, or I spoke up, spoke out my desire to become successful, surrounding my the people who surrounded me tried to calm me down, to put me back in my place. So of course I wanted something, I wanted to develop, and thanks to the people who surround me now in church, I started to become somebody. So for my relatives, my step to come to church and start growing and building my personality, it was really, it was a real shock. So without my pastor, without my leader, without people who told me, you're right, just do it, believe in yourself. I was reading Bible, but there were some moments where I had to choose, when you stood against the whole world, especially your relatives or family who didn't believe in you, and you understand, you come to the point of understanding that I can develop, I can achieve things in my life. So only then I started to get this being sure in myself. And of course I saw the example of the pastor who showed me that he could do anything. You understand that you are not alone and you are not crazy. We live in the world which is like your personality in general. So thanks God for an opportunity to be here, to uh, for this opportunity to get out of that society which wants everyone to remain as gray as they are. I have a story.
Я смотрела как-то
It was an
недавно передачу про
example.
одного, он бизнесмен, политик, он где-то пару лет назад в Евровидении выиграл.
An example, I forgot the name, but it was a story about a man who won a competition, like singing competition. His father is a president or a politician somewhere in power in Armenia. So his father is really rich, and this young man had a proposal or offer from his dad for starting, but he refused because he wanted to achieve things in his life himself. He went to America and he had a business, and he was developing this business, and now he has become successful. And Bill Gates mentioned his name. So his dad didn't help him. He didn't want help from his dad, and this character which he built himself inside helped him a lot. I think it's very important when you have this character. It doesn't really depend if you have basic resources or not.
пример
The
короткий
last
сказать
person,
про
please.
старт, сравнить.
I want to
Говорю, что
give a
старт,
short
он должен
example
где-то
about
играть
start.
роль процентов 20. Это
It can
согласно утверждениям, которые мы знаем.
play a role like 20%. It's like the thing about talent. I know there is a rap song that 99% of work and 1% of talent, it's your starting resource, your basic resource which you start with. The same with the things were given to you. If you're a talented football player, you have this talent, but every day you have to work. And if you don't, then somebody who doesn't have this talent will work every day and become a better football player than without any talent, just by working on his own abilities. So even if you have a talent, but you don't develop their time, one time you will come to a point when you have nothing, simply because a person who doesn't have a talent like a starting point, it doesn't assure anything, it doesn't guarantee anything. So having talent, you have to invest your work in your success. This is the difference between people who work from the very beginning and the person who had something for the start, and he deceived himself, because having a starting resource, you should understand that it will relax you. So what is better opinion or better motto for your life, slogan for your life, or like better things that you can accept for your life? It's I will do everything myself. It doesn't matter if I have or I don't have basic resource. It doesn't matter if somebody can help me or nobody will help me. So it's what you do yourself for your success. There are people who have some money and they really relax, and they depend on their parents, depend on their friends, depend on their deposits. We are lazy. Really, to tell the truth, everybody is lazy. And when we relax, uh, when we get the moment of comfort, that's all. One time I went to relax, I thought for 2 weeks, but it came out a month. If you tried to rest, try when you have money and you are not limited with time, you will just rest. It's kind of the pillow which you have, and you get used to this comfort pillow and you will sleep. So this start is deceive. It's a deceiving point. So you relax. Your parents who give you this basic resource understand that you don't have to challenge your life. You don't have to challenge your difficulties. That's why you don't try hard. That's why you don't want. Sorry, Pastor, I cannot put it short. Okay, the last example. I went to the gym. With my programmers, my friends programmers, we went to the gym. You know, my friends wanted to have some bodybuilding activity, so I used to do it, so I started to teach them. So we went to some equipment, to some training points, and at the end of the training, of course, we were a little bit tired, but it was okay. And then we went for boxing training, and they say that they didn't have to fight because they were clever people and work. But I told them, no, you have to see how to box in life, because at least you will defend yourself. 1 hour, and in 1 hour the programmer vomits, or I the pastor makes sure why vomiting. Okay. After a hard training, the programmer, who is a clever person and had never trained in life, they were vomiting because of over 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 training. So actually, hard training hard training makes them give up 20 minutes before the end of the training. So this is
Я себя так не заставлю. Ну не заставил я себя так потеть. А вот тренер, ценность тренера, то, что говорите, пастор, ценность тренера, то, что тренер гоняет, и ты там уже встаешь, не можешь. Он, давай, давай, парень. Давай, давай. И все остальные ты смотришь, делаешь. То есть вот эти растяжки, они формируют тебя. И я потом, я думаю...
the main idea of what is going on is that when you have a trainer, the trainer can help you get out of the comfort zone. So when there was an example about programmers, he meant that programmers are clever and actually they don't want to develop in different direction. But when they got a trainer, they were so tired that they couldn't even go on. Let us remember Bible examples.
Если так взять Давида, был старт? Не было.
We can talk about David, and he had no basic resource or initial start. Solomon had. The disciples of Jesus, some of them had the initial resource, some of them didn't. Apostle Paul had some resources, but what I want to tell you, it's not important. The main thing in the Bible was your faith. If you remember, the Bible says that your faith means your action. It doesn't really matter if you have your start or you don't. Go and just act in the name of God. One more word. I would like to express my opinion about the idea that the son will repeat what the father will teach him, and it's not really bad. So if a good, successful father has a son and the son sees that the father can achieve such success, and we understand that successful people, they don't sit, they don't rest for months, they work even when they have great fortunes, they don't care, they don't stop. And it's good when the son sees that and the son knows that he can achieve what his father had achieved. So let us become such fathers whose children see that we can achieve something. It caused a great wave of opinions in the audience, so one sister says that she knows one businessman who takes his son everywhere just to show what he does. The pastor asks, how are you guys? How are you today? Everybody is still discussing the topic, so there are different opinions, and in general, it just continues the topic of this conversation today. The question is, our brother asks if okay. So the question is if people who had a minus situation and when it was really difficult for start, for example, no mom, no dad, prison, if these people wanted their children to have the same start, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, so the topic is changing. Okay, they are talking without a microphone, so I apologize. I cannot give you the whole picture of what's going on, but I think according to the answers, they are still discussing the topic. So if the father had a really problem background, for example, Zhenya went to prison, he was a thief, he was hungry, he would never want his son to have the same start. So now he says, as my pastor examples, I want to give my child different education. I want my son to see the life, for example, to send him to Africa or to send him to an orphan house. Just I want as my passport to stretch my son's character, and of course I don't want my son to go to prison, no, but I want my son to I want to use other methods to help my son. Of course I wouldn't give a lot of money to my son and send him do whatever he wants. He will have to earn this money, he will have to put efforts to become. Dear, we have comments online. Let's welcome online guests. The first comment.
Проблема в том, что большинство имеет средние умы, поэтому ищут оправданий и обвиняют всех остальных. Это проще, чем согласиться с тем, что ты не дотягиваешь до определенного уровня. И первая, и вторая категория успешных людей имеют капитал. У первых мозги, у вторых
There is a comment that we have two different groups of people, and there are, of course, people who become successful, but if you are clever, if you are not somewhere in the middle, then you don't even need starting resources. But if you are not clever and you don't want to develop, even this having this money wouldn't help you. So of course there are different comments, and in general being lazy is the protecting mechanism. You just don't want to do everything and find excuses for your laziness. Of course, if parents give a lot of money and protect their children, children don't value that. Yes, of course you can become successful without any starting resources. There was one a person, a Jewish musician, who was born in Odessa, and he played the violin, and he says that to become the greatest musician you have to be born in Odessa and leave it on time. Of course, you have to change your surrounding, you have to change your place, because sometimes when you come to a new place you see more possibilities. For example, when foreigners come to Ukraine, they see a lot of opportunities which we don't see. Half of Donbass young generation is like this. Without God, we have schools of life, and thanks God for our church, for our pastors, that our children can really have a different example in their life. They discussed that in a difficult situation, some people have like common idea to get out, to go away, but sometimes it really helps, but if you don't work on yourself, it doesn't really matter. So there are many examples of children who were made by their parents' work. And for example, one mother says that her kids had difficult childhood, and they were working in a village, like milking cows, and now they are successful people and they have achieved the greatest success. One person gives an example of her friend who is 40 years old, and her mom had protected her so deeply, so carefully, that now she is 40 and she is not available. She cannot live. She cannot challenge any difficulty. If there are difficulties, she is depressed. So when people care too much, it's really dangerous. Thank you very much, my friends, for the time with you. I think that there will be this book. We will see how about the names, maybe the initial conditions and terms of human's life, or how to become successful without connections and money. Different names of the book, which will contain this topic. Maybe it will be the starting resource is a problem, or maybe the starting resource is a problem, or the problem is starting or initial resource. So if we need these basic resources to become successful in our life or not. They are discussing the name of the future book by Pastor Sunday Adelaja, and it will be connected with the topic we discussed today. What is your basic or initial resource, or lack of this resource, or just initial position and so on? Because sometimes we are looking for excuses and justified by this term. What we are going to finish our lives with? Will we finish with witnessing that whatever start you have, your end is good? That's why we have God, and He is our basic resource. Whatever start you have, be blessed, and remember that God is your basic resource. May God bless you. Thank you very much for being with us, and see you next Sunday.
Ты живой?
Мне тут чаек сделали, ты не хочешь? Тут еще вода, я не пила. Чай, может быть, хочешь? Я не знаю, просто тут аппаратура, на, подержи, ты попробуй.